the focus area of the
Thank you. Nature-based solutions, to my mind, are essentially optimized, uh, particularly in the context of the Sundarbans, where things are fairly mobile. They move around. The land is not what we are used to in the mainland, right? So the shape changes. Somewhere it goes underwater. So one kind of nature-based solutions is to deal with these processes. Because unless these processes are addressed, anything that you are trying to do in that space cannot be sustained. To give you an example, we all know relative sea level rise in the Sundarbans is amongst the highest in the world, certainly in the country. So the land somehow needs to keep rising. If we compare the forest land as opposed to the human settled land, we already know the forest lands are higher in the absence of the embankment and the natural processes playing out. Whereas for the human inhabited islands, it's actually lower and lower relative to the water level. So there has to be a mechanism whereby this land can also be raised. Instead, what are we doing? We are raising the embankment. Right? So we are actually going against nature. Now, not that the NBS option would be any easier, right? In Bangladesh, Sundarban, there is a project, and it's a fairly old project, and a large project at that, which is called TRM, Tidal River Management Project, where they were breaching the embankment deliberately, creating an embankment within the island, impounding silt-laden water in that area over several seasons, the idea being that you raise the land and then you close it off again. Unfortunately, what has happened, the rate at which the land in the island was being raised, the river was rising faster. So instead of a land, now you have a lake. So many places that were land have now become dohos. Babo doho, this doho, that doho. Now, the reason I bring out this example, because you also talked about the local knowledge, right? We have to accept that the Sundarbans that we see today and the Sundarbans that existed when the Dampier-Hodges line was drawn are two very different spaces. What was forest fringe then is not forest fringe now. It's pretty much part of the mainland, semi-urban space, right? And we expect the new settlers to have adequate knowledge of an ecosystem to be able to guide this process. Because if you look at indigenous communities, say of Central India, of Northeast India, sir, you just mentioned Northeast India, wherever we have had long associations of populations with a particular ecosystem, that is where traditional knowledge evolves. Traditional knowledge does not evolve in 200 years. So this is where we are at times going wrong. We think they have the traditional knowledge, and therefore if we listen to them, it will work. I'll give you a personal example. When I was working in Mosini, which is a small island in Block Namkhana, people kept telling me there was mangrove outside the embankment. They kept on saying that. For 3 years, I kept on trying to plant and bring back mangroves. Failed. Every year we failed. But in that failure, we learned that the silt or the sediment that could support vegetation was coming at one particular time and leaving at another particular time along with the plants. Only after having realized this, I started asking, where did you exactly have your mangrove? Then I realized the mangrove was somewhere which is now in the middle of the river.
Okay.
Right? So there are also times what they are saying and what we are perceiving, there is a big gap. So putting traditional knowledge to use is somewhat tricky. Somebody really needs to understand that one, this is traditional knowledge, and that I understand what this community is telling me. This is one. So this is one kind. The other kind is directly related to their livelihoods. In case of Sundarbans, it is either agriculture or it is inland fishery. For agriculture, having spent years and years on trying to figure out what can be better for the people of Sundarbans, I've actually thrown up my hands and I salute to the people of the Sundarbans saying what they are already doing is the best that they can do. Can you insulate agricultural field from saltwater flooding? No, you can't. Can you insulate it from storms? No, you can't. The best you can do is to learn to live in between storms. And that is what the people of the Sundarbans have been able to do. They figured out how to survive the storms and actually live in between storms. You know, when you come up with community resilience as a theme and climate adaptation, just indulge me for a moment, I start having a little trouble with this. To me, it seems if the theme is resilience and a panel is on adaptation, there is a hierarchy, right? That the resilience is at a higher level and adaptation is at a level lower. It's actually the other way around. WRI in the 90s had very clearly defined the difference and the distinction between coping, being resilient, and being in a state of adaptation. To me, being in a state of adaptation or in the process, because adaptation can be a state and can also be a process. To me, that's the one I should be aspiring for. So if my panel is on adaptation, my theme should also be adaptation. Because only after I am resilient can I aspire for adaptation. If I have already well adapted, I don't need to be resilient because I'm already resilient and therefore I am well adapted. However, I also realize if you look at, because we are within the global context, we are operating within the political, economic terminology globally. Now think of the Western world, the United States and Western Europe. For them, being resilient is okay. The state that they are in, because if I am resilient, I can bounce back to where I was. The people in the community his organization works for, they are here. And if I just make them capable that they are only as good as coming back to where they were, no, they have to be here. And therefore, the aspiration should be adaptation and not resilient in our context. The context varies and therefore, the requirement for resilience or adaptation varies. I am running out of time. I'll come back again. But just one example. In the fisheries sector, however, we figured out that if you have a floating fish farm, and this is based on a long-term project that the University of Fisheries and Animal Sciences had, which we modified and continued. We figured out that if your fish farm is in the creeks and keeps up with the tides, a storm or a saltwater incursion makes no difference. That's the state. And again, more than what we learned from the university, we learned from the people who know how to raise fish. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Anurag. And yes, you are absolutely right that, particularly in the context of Sundarban, the people are not living more than 200 years, of course. And like the traditions, sir has said, in Madhya Pradesh or in other any forest areas, we see a history, long history of living with the nature. So here it's more like living in between, rightly said. But one thing I'd just like to say that resilience is also an aspiration like what we would like to have, but it's also an ongoing thing. It's not that any community, any country can be resilient because you are thinking yourself resilient, but something else is happening. So a continuous adaptation process is going on. And mitigation, we have already given up hope, as Professor Chakraborty was telling also in the plenary sessions, that out of 9 planetary targets, we have crossed 6. And so mitigation is not really going to help, but what we is really that in Bangladesh they are doing is adaptation, rendezvous, they're giving space for the rivers, and all these concepts are coming, and that's what is nature-based solution, is building with nature. All along since industrial revolution, we have been building against nature. So now it's building with nature, and I suppose you are very right. The traditional knowledge, it is very, I would say, a subtle thing. How it is there, and it has totally evolved also over last few years. How the agriculture, fishery sector has grown. I have seen that farmers have lost the knowledge of agriculture and going to a shopkeeper and telling that, okay, I now have this bug, what do I do? And then he gives some medicine. I said, okay, he's very happy taking that medicine. But he was not doing this, at least his father was not doing this. So losing that knowledge into the market economy, market-driven life, consumerism, whatever you say, and that is also a big challenge, that how we go back. So sir has
Unlearned.
yes, what we knew, our
Again, we have to reinvent and tell.
exactly, sir. So I would come to you, sir, about when you are doing this, what are your learnings? And now let's get back to Manoj Singh ji. From the Nature Conservancy, you have global presence, global contexts. Now, how do you see that the policies, the policy changes, advocacy efforts that you are doing all over the globe and also now in India in a big way? So what do you see are the challenges in taking this nature-based livelihoods, climate adaptation, on the context of climate adaptation and directly impacting the communities?
Right. First of all, thank you for giving this opportunity. My name is Manoj Singh and I represent Nature Conservancy, which is world's largest conservation organization, being present in more than 80 countries. And yeah, I agree with all of the things that all of you said. But when we talk about adaptation, I think even the community resilience, and in the context of India, we know that, if you talk about farmers within India, more than 90% it's small and marginal farmers. So less than half acres or, So how to build? On one side, we are maintaining the food security. On other side, we are moving towards a market-driven system where there are certain aspirations and needs of the communities that needs to be fulfilled. And on the top of that, there are things which are saying that, in business as usual scenario, you are going to decrease the agriculture production part and service sectors will come up in future. So see the scenario from whether the most vulnerable communities or indigenous communities point of view. If you talk about the global part, when I say nature-based solution, almost 25% of the land globally is being managed by indigenous people, traditional methods of doing things. And if you talk about the carbon part, around 17% of the forest carbon globally is being managed by indigenous communities. So the stewardship of indigenous community needs to be maintained. That's why TNC follows a framework. We call it as VCA framework: voices, choices, and action. So if you see, you can able to find it. So I think the most crucial part is listening to the traditional methods of revival through these communities, how they are working, what they were executing, and it should be mixed with the science-backed approach and then trying to scale the mechanism. And when we say adaptation, now I'll come to some of the things in terms of scaling part of it. As policy also wants to scale things, the key challenge is for mitigation. Most of you might be knowing mitigation versus adaptation. Mitigation, there's a clear-cut carbon as a mechanism to measurement. But in terms of adaptation, it's all in the air. It's basically the adaptive capacity of the communities that needs to be taken into account. But do we have any framework or standards, global standards or something which could capture basically the adaptive capacity of individuals or communities? And it varies with the region. As everyone said, adaptation is very local. It's not something which is in India, there are multiple states. So, each state is acting as a country. You know it, that in terms of agroclimatic zone, in terms of culture, in terms of finance, in terms of nature-based solution as well. So, I think the key question is how the policy thinks in terms of the smallholder economy or the most vulnerable communities in terms of improving their adaptive capacity. Government is making all sort of efforts, no doubt about it, in terms of various schemes and programs. Even government is coming up with national adaptation plan that will be launched very soon, which they will submit it to COPE. But yeah, I think what is required is finance and funding, and finance and funding will be given on the basis of certain factors by corporates or by anyone. If you see the part of mitigation part, I'm just trying to compare both. There are different standards or registries that are there. There are 10 registries all over the world, Vera, Gold Standard, and everyone. So they have a defined methodologies. Do we have any methodology for adaptation? We are looking for adaptation financing to improve the adaptive capacity of the people or the community. But where we have such type of mechanisms, I think that is what required. In terms of West Bengal context, I can say that blue carbon is something that is emerging, but it's all also there's no unified standards that are there. It's still in, each organization is measuring its own, the blue carbon part of it. One initiative I just want to highlight at this point of time, that TNC is right now coming up with one coastal resilience credit. So that we are trying to test with different stakeholders, including governments. And maybe within this year, it will become as a methodology with Vera. So we'll try to test it in West Bengal as well. It's basically the flood reduction benefits that communities could get because of mangroves and such type of nature-based solution. So that's it for right now.
Thanks, Manoj, because as you said, the adaptation has really not much of the monitoring indicators, and I would also come to sir, that when you are doing the national adaptive, working with the adaptation funds, so what are the monitoring indicators that needs to be developed, the frameworks that we need to use? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, it is the impact. Yeah, quantifiable, measurable impact that needs to be understood. And then we go on ahead with the learnings and experiences. Yeah, thanks, Manoj. And now we come to Mr. Arijit Raha from the Indian Tea Association, has huge experience in working in this sector, and we all love Darjeeling tea. So to you, sir.
Good afternoon. Privilege being in your midst. I think I am a fish out of water in this audience because, in the corporate space that we are in, which obviously in the last 20 years has had a paradigm shift in terms of the small growers now coming in, small farmers now coming in, who contribute about 50% of the production. So you have about 35,000 small growers in West Bengal who are registered, and a few lakh in other tea growing states. So basically the landscape, the spectrum for us has widened beyond our estates. It is now at the rural grassroots level, what was not the case earlier. Tea employs about 1.2 million people. They are resident on tea estates. These are communities who have lived on these tea estates for 200 years. But I would go with what my esteemed co-panelist, Mr. Nanda, said, that it is not really necessary that because you've been there for 200 years, there is a lot of resilience and indigenous knowledge which is enough to cope or outpace the damage that is being done by, if I use the word damage, or the challenges that climate change is bringing. As a sector, when I look at it, and the way I was trying to focus on this, see, if you look at the guiding principles of NBS, the global principles of NBS, it starts with societal challenges. It talks about feasibility, it talks about being feasible, it talks about landscapes, yes, the ecosystem as a whole. The challenge for us in tea is that the ecosystem is confined to our enterprise. We have no control over the forest that surrounds us. The manifestations of climate change that have hit us, and I'll just be very brief just to explain what we are trying to do in terms of nature-based solutions, not necessarily flowing from indigenous knowledge. See, it's a rain-fed crop, as you all know. Rainfall patterns have gone awry. We find that due to change in precipitation levels, the first and second flush, which is the prime time for us to make the best teas, in Darjeeling or otherwise, that is becoming shorter. And you suddenly have, as Mr. Bhardwaj said about the rainfall that happened in Assam, you suddenly have huge spurts of rain that causes flooding, waterlogging, it erodes the topsoil, creates abiotic stress for the plants, affects productivity. Sometimes also it creates floods within the estates. And it disrupts operations, economic activity, employment. Employment, not the permanent employment, but naturally the casual workers who depend. So there is a huge linkage with these events that are manifesting itself on an everyday basis in tea estates. On the other hand, we have temperatures that are going above 37 degrees C on a day. And these hot days are becoming far more higher than what it used to be. In the process, we find that there's a lot of water stress. Tea, which was a rain-fed crop till few years ago, we are now totally dependent on irrigation. Sourcing water is a very big challenge. So we are into rainwater harvesting. We are trying to look at other means. So these do not necessarily flow from indigenous knowledge. But I can just summarize very simply that some of the nature-based interventions that we do. So let's take soil erosion that is happening, which I spoke about. We plant, agroforestry is a perennial activity on tea estates now. I think the audience understands what agroforestry is. And apart from the shade trees which were integrated into the system, protecting the plants, the tea bushes from radioactive sun rays, and it also manages the microclimate of the soil. We are on to regenerative agriculture in a very big way now, trying to replenish the nitrogen in the soil. We're using cover crops, which fixes the nitrogen levels, holds the soil together. So this is on one side. Rainwater harvesting is on the other side. There's a third pillar. It's a huge pest infestation in tea estates, which is affecting us. Now, this is where I come into exactly what was being stated by one of our co-panelists, that sometimes the advent of the intervention gets outpaced by the onslaught of the climate effect, that is adverse effect that happens. So we are trying to looking at biofertilizers. We are trying to look at biosprays. We are also trying to look at good insects. Good insects meaning insects which actually eat up the pest, because with the biodiversity changes that we have observed, butterflies, birds, predators that used to be an integral part of an estate, that population is depleting, is going down. So these are some interventions. We are doing biochar, we do vermicomposting, which are all nature-based interventions. We are doing mulching to enrich the soil. And very importantly, we are also very active in trying to see that we contribute substantively to enhancing our carbon footprints. That is where a tea estate, normally the sequestration levels are far higher than the emissions. I mean, we have done studies that establish that almost 7.5 to 10 tons per CO2 per hectare is the normal sequestration level. And I think with regenerative agriculture, which is quite intense now, and the agroforestry, this is set to go up. In fact, many of the estates in Darjeeling, some of my member estates in Assam, have already attained net zero certification. But by and large, as a thumb rule, most tea estates are carbon neutral, if not carbon negative. So we think that we can play a very major role. And I come to what one of my co-panelists talked about, carbon credit funding. I think this was a very important issue. In the decarbonization of the regions where we operate. And we are all across the eastern Himalayas regions. This is one side. The other is we are coping with man-animal conflict. As I speak today, WWF is having a meeting in one of our offices in North Bengal to deal with leopard menace. Now, there are no indigenous, except drumming, there is nothing to control leopards, but these creatures have come to make tea estates their own abodes. They are there. And very often, much that you may not like to, but there are cases of leopard mauling, workers getting injured, and so on and so forth. We worked with WWF some time back in Assam with ABJT to look at elephant depredation issues, and where all these fences, solar part fences, were replaced by thorny bushes. I thought that was a very critical intervention that actually helped in dealing with elephant depredation. So these are some of the interventions that are happening. Some of them are nature-based, but largely, when it comes to sustainability, paying the workers is a priority, maintaining the operations is a priority, and the needle shifts to other interventions. We are looking at mechanization, we are looking at fertilizers, pesticides, insecticides, etc., which are required to keep yourself sustaining. So we are actually in a phase where it has become very important to diversify. Policy has supported diversification of crops, and a lot of it is happening. There's some ecotourism happening in the tea sector. This, we believe, would open up streams for revenue in the future. That is one. And the other thing is tea waste. I'm just sharing this because there is an economic sustenance angle to this entire debate. Tea waste extracts are now becoming very, very useful. Polyphenols, catechins, which are being extracted from tea waste, are finding very good markets in pharmaceutical and other industries. And this, we believe, will help in the overall sustainability of the sector in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Very insightful, because from your deliberation, I could find that the circular economy that we very sincerely talk about is already starting to take place, and this is the adaptation, I think, that the businesses also need. The economy, as you said, in the business as usual mode, going as usual mode, will not work anymore. That's very imperative, and now we have to think beyond that, how we can co-create those links by which we can really make every inch of the business part, the economic part, of course, it's very, very important. As you said, at the end of the day, the laborers, the workers have to be paid. So, but also have the social inclusions, otherwise there will be other issues, and then also the ecological integrity. And I would come to you in the next part, sir, because you talked about a lot about the biodiversity inclusions, and well, whether these biodiversity labels are going to bring additional revenue or mileage to the sector. That's also important, that whether people are really looking forward such labels like carbon levels, as you said, the zero carbon footprint. This tea comes from an estate with a zero carbon footprint, or the biodiversity level that this tea estate holds. Is the customer or the consumers enough educated, or they should be made more aware? Policy support should be there from the government so that these can be encouraged. I will come to you, sir, in the later part. Now let's hear to Karunadi. It's my, I can never say Karuna Singh because she's been an idol for a long time, working with her since from my very early days, 2001-2, in Namthing, Pokri and all. So, Karunadi, with your rich experience working in India and also with the Earth Day Network in an international space, I'd like to hear your voices, your thoughts, your perceptions in going forward.
Thank you, Ajanta, and thank you for inviting me here. It's been my honor to work with you and to see the fantastic work you all are doing. Thank you all for, as I said, inviting me here. I was yesterday at a book reading by Mahatma Gandhi's grandson, Gopal Krishna Gandhi, who's been a governor of West Bengal. And his book has a phrase in its title. It's called The Undying Light, because he speaks about hope for India. And if you ask me, the undying light that I reflect upon is rural women who hold the beacons high for us, who will not let the light die out, but they need support. And it is idealistic to think that they will continue to care for the environment unless we guarantee them that they will get some livelihood out of it also. So, keeping that in mind, earthday.org, the organization I'm with, which grew out of the first Earth Day in 1970, and today, 55 years later, engages with organizations in some 190 countries to take the environmental movement forward. We thought that in India, we would look at the work being done at the ground level, at the indigenous level, with communities, and reflect this for others to see. We didn't want to waste time with reinventing the wheel, because if you think about it, the climate clock is telling us that there are only 4 years and a couple of months left before we are going to reach that tipping point beyond which climate change becomes irreversible. So we went across the country to look at different communities, and we instated an award for, it was called the Star Women's Group Award, for small groups of women who are looking after the environment and at the same time earning from it. Because, you know, I think it's very philosophical to say that women should just look after the environment or people should look after it without us guaranteeing them that they will have a basic livelihood. So I wanted to just share with you Some of the examples that we found, and we put these on social media, our idea is that others can replicate it. Why should we keep looking for new ways when those ways are traditionally there? And a lot of indigenous communities are already following them. So I begin with Uri, right up in Kashmir, where there is a village called Dudran. Now, Dudran is very well known for the milk products it has traditionally had. And while traditionally they had produced enough milk, enough cheese, enough cream for their own consumption, if we were going to take that livelihood option for them beyond, they had to be able to keep these products cool and refrigerated. Over there, there was no electricity, no refrigeration, but the local women came out with a system called doodh courts. These doodh courts are little cabins made with rocks, covered with wood, and fenced off so that the wild animals there did not disturb it. What happens in these doodh courts? When they place the milk products over there, they get naturally refrigerated. So there is no energy used, their carbon footprint is not there. This can be done in any other place that is around. Oh, we have some pictures there, the tooth coats are there, in this. So moving from Kashmir, I moved to our state of Chhattisgarh, which is known as having the greatest biodiversity in any of the states of India. Their Vaidyas or medicinal plant healers are very well known. In fact, even the Equator Prize was given to them for that. But traditionally, that was carried out by men. So we tried to find out what the reason was, and the reason was that although the women had the knowledge, they could not work in the fields by tradition with men. So an organization was begun where it is only led by women. Women collect, they pound, they dry, and they make the medicine, and it is good to report that they are earning a lot from it today. So Ajanta, just stop me wherever my time is over. Otherwise, I have some examples. So we have given over 40 awards so far, and each one is brilliant. So I'll just give you a few, but just stop me wherever. Moving from Chhattisgarh, let's go to the northeast, where we have Imphal, a land with a lot of ponds over there. And in these ponds are water hyacinths and weeds. So there is an organization over there called Himba Products that has got the women to remove these weeds and turn these into, weave these into baskets. Now, one other point comes through that a lot of traditional products may not be so appealing for larger sales. So designers, local artists have helped them develop these products into saleable ones. So the design might be, the tradition might be the same, but it might be slightly altered to modern fashions. After we come from Manipur, and what's happening is that these women are earning now about 10,000 rupees per month doing this, because these products are not only sold in India, they're sold abroad as well. They're so beautiful. From there, I'm coming down to Maharashtra, where there are the Bhil and Pawara communities, and they have found a way to boost their income by producing organic, nutritious laddus from mawa. Now we know mawa to be really the alcohol, ingredients, but actually the mawa flour is very rich in vitamin A and C. So the women have taken these mawa flowers and they've made them into laddus, which have fed their families and increased their nutrition, and they become so popular that even people in Bombay are, asking for them. So here drunkenness has gone down because there's less mawa to be turned into liquor. If we go to Uttarakhand, now in Uttarakhand there is a lot of water available during certain seasons. Yeah, tell me please. I need to stop? No. during certain seasons, but during the dry months, they have a problem with water. So they have taken the gradient of the hilly region and they have made chals and khals. These chals are small, brick-made ponds where they can keep the water, and the khals are bigger ones, all on the gradient. So, Mr. Bhardwaj, it can be done in Darjeeling also over there. And what the women are doing is that because the sides of the chals and the khals are wet, they are growing vegetables over there. So they can sell those as well. This is one of my favorite ones. Coming back to Maharashtra, there's a place called Sindhudurg on the border with Goa and Maharashtra on the Konkan coast, where women over there have taken the initiative to do mangrove tourism. What they do is they have their own boats, so they are the boat people and they are the guides. So they are protecting the mangroves that way, and they are also earning from it. Coming down to South India in Bangalore, there is an NGO that has trained women to make straws, sipping straws, out of the leaves of coconut leaves that have fallen on the ground. So these straws have replaced so many of the plastic straws that we normally use, and they have two benefits. One, they are natural. Second is that whatever leaves had fallen on the ground were generally swept up and burnt. So look at the the greenhouse gases that were being released from there. So then there is a very interesting plant called the munj plant, which I had not heard of earlier. But in villages in Uttar Pradesh, they do weaving with these into little baskets. In fact, when I had gone to Azerbaijan, I was trying to buy these, not realizing that you can get them right here. Here, these are the beautiful ones that you have right there. So these women have been, connected to marketing places so that they can sell them and earn from what is traditional. Then we come down to Village Recyclers Foundation in Goa. Goa, as you know, is a very touristy place, and often tourists are not as particular about the plastic that they are strewing around as the locals may be, but these people are using the plastic and recycling it into other products. In Udaipur, we have the tribal women of Rajasthan who are taking their local produce, jamuns and custard apples, and turning these into medicinal use things. Jamuns, as we all know now, if you have blood sugar, they say jamun powder low and all that. So it just means that we need to make sure that traditions stay, but we must make sure that women earn from it as well. Otherwise, all our great ideas of doing this and doing that not work. And Mr. Singh, I will talk to you about another initiative we have where my colleague Monodeep is looking after, where we have realized that women from small and medium-sized holdings, which you have just told us are 90%, have now had to step up and be managers. So we can talk about that later. Thank you.
Thank you, Karunadi. There's a lot of hope that you see all around India, from Kashmir to South India, Northeast. It really gives us hope. I will come to you on how do you think that these can be upscaled, or whether it should be upscaled at all, or kept the niches like that only, and bring the market to them so that they can really get the access to it, because everything doesn't maybe need upscalation or replication, or what replication, of course it wouldn't be done. But even when we talk about any tradable products, we always think of upscalation. But what we understand that nature-based livelihoods and the products out of it, I think a similar discussion is going on with the FPO and FPCs, and everyone is challenged with that. I think sir also working now. If I come to you, sir, that now that several our great panelists has raised quite many questions, and like Manojji also has said, and you also have said, that there are so many small farmers that you are impacting, and with the adaptation and livelihoods. So what are the metrics do you think that should be considered for quantifiable, measurable impacts that we can gather and learn from it. So adaptation funds are really big, and also, as I said, that how can the CSOs be also part of it, so that the bridging the last mile there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hello. Yeah, this is working. So thank you so much for giving me another chance to share some of my thoughts. After the examples given by Madam, I just want to share some of our interventions here in West Bengal itself. We are also associated here in Hooghly for a water hyacinth project. There is a group of self-help group of women. Means NABARD activities also focus on one thing, that everybody understands the language of money or income. Either an activity which we suggest to the community, it should lead to some incremental income, or it should lead to some kind of reduction in cost, so that they are having a motivation to be associated with that activity. So here we have a group of women entrepreneurs who are taking out this water hyacinth, and then it is dried, and then it is processed, and then it is put into useful kind of artifacts, and then it is being marketed. Another project NABARD has done in Birbhum, which is from this banana stem. Banana, lot of cultivation is being done. So after that banana is harvested, this stem becomes useless as of now. So that stem is taken out, and that stem is pressed, and then the fibers are extracted. And that fiber is being used, and we are also associated with the IIT Kharagpur. We have facilitated setting up of a agri-business incubation center there. So NABARD has contributed about 10 crore rupees in setting up the infrastructure, and IIT team has created a facility for incubation of startups. So the startups which have some kind of idea or some kind of product which will lead to sustainable development is one, and some kind of agricultural productivity increase or some practices modified, all those things are being tested there and then supported for upscaling. So we are associated there also. So all these things, little bit efforts are being made. Now the thing is ki NABARD as such does not have the reach at the ground level. Ki we work at the base level with the farmers or the villagers directly. No, we cannot work that way. Means we have, of course, a one-man office in almost 17 districts here, which we call as district development managers. So one person is posted in the district, and he is basically coordinating and identifying what are the kind of basic requirements at the district level in the rural areas. We also prepare the potential linked plans, considering the potential for different activities, and also convergence with the priorities of the state government and also the government policy guidelines and initiatives of the government of India. So at the intersection of those things, we assess the potential for which are the activities which should be kind of taken up and which will be economically beneficial. That kind of activities we compile and present it as a potential link plan for a particular district. And that is compiled at the state level, and it is presented as a state focus paper to the state government, and that is referred by the bankers deriving ideas ki what are the potential activities which can be done in different areas, and those are then implemented. Banks are adopting those plans as the potentials, and then they adopt it as annual credit plans. That is an annual exercise we repeatedly do and share it with the state government, and we take the inputs from the state government and other stakeholders, and again then share it with the state governments. Now coming to my point that we are not able to reach to the ground level by ourselves, so we associate with the NGOs and the civil society organizations, as also with CSR foundations of different corporates. We just together we identify ki this community, this project, this can be carried out at this location. And this is a kind of a traditional practice which has been either discarded over a period of time, or it is declining, because of non-adoption of latest technologies or because of some other factors. So we try to revive those techniques and technologies, and the NGOs become the bridge between NABARD thinking, NABARD financial support, and the ground level people who are finally participating to carry out that project. So we have a few good number of NGOs here in West Bengal, about 30-35. We are regularly associated, and new organizations, CSOs, are also welcome to be associated with us, with their ideas. And if they kind of can be prioritized, we have a limited kind of budget with us. We look forward to impact-making projects. And then second thing is scalable projects. If we are able to demonstrate the success of a particular project, then we can share it with the government, share it with other stakeholders, share it with other CSR foundations. If they find it worthy of implementing it and replicating it at other places, it is taken forward like that. So that is how we take the things forward. And as for implementation and monitoring, our regular system is any project we start, any project we associate, our first focus is how are the things as of today, before implementation of the project. What is the position at the ground level today, that is documented, and what we want to do, what is the potential for that. And over a period of time, as we move, say if a project is being implemented over a period of 2 years, 3 years duration, so how the implementation and interventions are making little difference over a period of time. It is periodically monitored directly by the NGO which submit the periodical reports, and then by our people also. Directly we also go in the field and monitor how the things are improving and how things are changing, and that is how we document it. And that kind of documented success stories are shared by us in the form of published literature, as also on the YouTube. There is a NABARD channel on YouTube, and we are sharing the success stories of this kind on that YouTube channel also. Recently in Alipurdwar, there is one isolated village. Do you remember the name? That Padma Pukuri. So that village, see, even after some 70-80 years of our development and independence, that village does not have electricity even today. Even today, they don't have any electricity. And we, under NABARD, we have a rural innovation infrastructure promotion fund. Out of that fund, we have helped that village in setting up solar energy cells, and that village is now having solar energy which is used in their houses for electrification, and also they are now able to charge their mobiles and get connected with the entire world. This intervention we have done about 2 years back, and that was shown to the state government. This is how we have done, and they were very appreciative of it. And we have basically highlighted the state government itself. Data is showing some 60 odd villages as of now are such which are not electrified. So we are saying we have done one village of our own initiative, and it is a model. Now it can be replicated, and similar kind of thing can be done for other places also. And we have, for such kind of execution of projects, because we cannot do everything on grant based, because ultimately we are a organization which works primarily for the development, but then we have to also keep in mind our economic factors and guidelines. We have limited budget for supporting the grant based projects. So we have a stream of funds coming from Government of India, which is called Rural Infrastructure Development Fund, RIDF. And it has a corpus of 40,000 crores across the country. So all the states are allocated a limited amount from this 40,000 crores, and the state governments are implementing the projects as per their priorities for development of infrastructure, primarily in rural areas. It could be roads, it could be electrification, it could be health centers, it could be a veterinary center, or it could be Anganwadi center, any kind of things. And those projects are identified by the state government, then prioritized by the finance department, and then they are presented to us. These projects are sanctioned by NABARD, and that assurance of fund stream is available from NABARD under this RIDF stream. So that is how we support these projects. So we will be kind of keen to associate with new CSR organizations also, if they want to associate with NABARD for infrastructure or kind of environment friendly projects, which definitely and primarily benefit the rural areas, so that we can take the things forward. I can say that environment is everybody's concern, and it is not that one or two or a few organizations or few individuals can make a big difference. In fact, it is so that individually we think my effort of violating the environment, say by using coal or some kind of other fuels, will not affect the environment much. But these individuals' combined effect put together is only affecting the environment. So it is everybody's concern, and everybody has to be conscious, and we have to make them, everybody has to be made aware. With little effort only, we will be able to contribute to the environment. And at the corporate level, NABARD has resolved to become a net zero corporate in days to come. We have set a target of 10 years, and we are across all our offices, whatever is our energy consumption, we have documented, and we are striving to achieve net zero in next 10 years. So these are our primary thoughts, and I am available for answering the questions or queries, whatever come from the audience.
Okay,
Please.
thank you, sir. Thank you very much. We can understand the huge network of impact that NABARD is creating, and hope the infrastructure investments and all are being thought of differently, with a different, like you said, environmental, ecological, and social inclusion perspectives also included, just not the economic growth, because we have understood that economy alone cannot also make the world survive by itself. Of course, it's a very, very important discourse that we all have to live with. But again, to add those feathers onto around the economic growth models, so that it becomes more and more sustainable. Thank you, sir. Now to coming to Anurag. Anurag, you saw that Mr. Raha told about that leopard, and so when we talk about impacts, you have also worked a lot in the grassroots. So when we talk about impact, we need that upskillation is needed, and when it's upskillation from conservation organizations like WWF, even what we are working, many others are working here, the impact of the biodiversity is felt by industry around us, and they keep telling that what is happening, either we are affecting them or they are affecting us. So the mutual coexistence that we all talk about, how can this theory flourish? How can this proposition or value really can flourish in this domain where we are now? But it's very, very crucial for our existence. So please tell us about your experiences there.
Yeah, sorry. It's an experience that I usually share when I am in the midst of corporate entities. You and I come from the same stable. So, for a period, I was teaching at various business schools. The simple reason being, if you look at the largest footprint, be it on water, be it on biodiversity, is basically industrial. Right? Be it industrial farming, be it industrial manufacturing, services, whatever. For any industry to thrive, the ecosystem must persist. So when I'm engaging with younger people, in business schools, they have brilliant ideas. Sir, Mars chale jayenge, idhar chale jayenge, and all of that. So I said, you show me one business that operates out of Mars, and I will rest my case, right? Otherwise, you would have had Elon Musk and various other businesses operating out of Mars and not on planet Earth. Right? So, even if we don't see those connections, because Mars and Earth are pretty much similar. They are, not exactly the same distance, but within the zone of life in the solar system. Gravitationally around the same. So life should have persisted on Mars, right? And if life persisted, if the ecosystem persisted, businesses would persist. It doesn't, for the simple reason. So if you want to turn planet Earth into planet Mars, the choice is ours. Right? He talked about wildlife moving into plantation areas. Now, that would happen, right? Our laws don't permit our sanctuaries and national parks and protected areas to be mobile. Our species are mobile. So the conceptualizations that we have had is from a static world. That static world has now become mobile and becoming increasingly mobile. And we are stuck with, नहीं इस बाउंड्री के अंदर सेंचुरी है, लेकिन जिसके लिए सेंचुरी बनाया था वो तो वहां है. And we still do not have the institutional mechanism to move the sanctuary from here to वहां. We will have to evolve. We do not have a choice, right? So we will have to evolve at various levels. Many communities have not interacted with certain species for generations. But now certain species are amongst their midst. Right? So leopards have been common in the tea garden areas, right? But if the leopards start residing in the tea garden areas, that's going to be a challenge. If it's a visitor once in a while, it's okay. But if it becomes a resident, then it's a problem. Right? Also, it's just not the industry. If you look at our high altitude areas, I heard she started with Kashmir, she also went up to Uttarakhand and all of that. There was a time when I mapped the potential shift of the red panda habitat in Sikkim. Because of temperature, because of where the vegetation would move, and therefore the red panda would move. Bang in the middle is a military establishment of that future potential habitat. So the military will also have to get used to the idea that they will have to start sharing space. So it is individuals, it is entities, private or public, these interactions, which were fairly distant at one point, because of the Holocene period when everything seemed stable, now that stability is gone. You said 4 months, 4 years we have left to cross the tipping point. If we do, we are not going back to the Holocene. So we'll have to find ways, evolve, and the earlier we do, the better it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Anurag. That's very insightful because it's a shared resource and we have to coexist. So that's the primary philosophy that I take from you. Now to go to Manojji, we are also running out of time. So Manojji, you talked about the VCA frameworks, and you said that a lot of policies are there now from the perspective of Government of India. So in order to scale up these initiatives, as you talk about in presence in 80 countries, what are the challenges that you particularly feel is going to be in forefront in taking these issues forward in upscalation?
Okay. I think some of things I've already mentioned that, I think measurement is very crucial part. If we want to scale, we definitely need measurement metrics. And when we say measurement metrics, as I said, carbon is very clear, but in adaptation, resilience, it's more sort of a qualitative rather than quantitative. So I think what is crucial is to define certain indicators or monitoring indicators. So in the meanwhile, when Ajanta ji was sharing about preparing me for my next question about the monitoring indicator, and I have jotted down certain things. So I think the first and foremost task is to identify the vulnerability metrics, as a baseline for any geography, because India is a very diverse country. Regions are different. Sundarbans can't be compared with Tamil Nadu, or other states can't be compared with each other. There might be some similarities, but I think if we want to move ahead, we need to understand the vulnerability metrics, or what is the vulnerability in that particular region. And then it all depends upon the type of programmatic interventions we make. But yeah, some of the monitoring indicators could be like that, in terms of gender inclusion, whether it is there or not, whether there was any incremental growth in income of that communities, whether there is a diversification of income. It's not dependent only on agriculture, but maybe farm and non-farm income. So that's also very important. Then access to natural resources like land, water, or other things. Then place-based economic opportunities. Because when we say place-based economic opportunity, we mean to say people earn through migration also. Okay, so they uplift their income. But if it is place-based, that you are staying in same place and how you are, getting your income is important. And from the sustainability point of view, I think what is more important is community-based institutions, how you sustain such initiatives in the long run. Because being any NGO or development organization, we are there till our grants are there. Once grants are over, we need to move out of that region. So what is the legacy or the mechanism we are just keeping behind in terms of sustainability of those interventions or business models that could be taken by those community? I have seen across India in some parts like in Tamil Nadu, there are FPOs who have now started doing exports also on their own. And they are not only doing production, they are into value addition, processing part also. For example, banana in Thani district, they are exporting it. They have CA chambers and all. There is a group of 3,000 farmers, 2,000 farmers. If you go in, for example, in Gujarat, Valsad district or near Surat, you will find cooperatives, farmers cooperative, which are there since 1940s, and they have reached to a level that they have started their own school, own shopping mall. This is the level of diversification. We are talking about only in agriculture term, that okay, we are dependent on agriculture, so that's why. But I think what is required is consolidation, aggregation, then this, the FPO or whatever modality, whether it's FPO or any society or anything owned by community, they are the shareholders, so that that diversification approach needs to be there. And the first and foremost part is also the planning part. I think involving communities in co-designing the program is the most critical component. I think that is what is required. And if you talk about the challenges part, I think the most crucial challenge, what I have seen, I remember in one of the meeting in Delhi where additional secretary environment was heading that meeting, and she was saying that, don't tell me models. I have seen 5,000 models in India. Tell me the model which is scalable. So it's not that every model, because in models what we are doing, we are working in a controlled condition. We have all sort of a funding. There's a team who is working on it. I think the sustainability angle needs to build from the beginning of the program and taking into account the community's perspective. So there we can able to scale the things and then work accordingly. Yeah.
Thanks, Manoj. And now coming to Mr. Raha, as I was saying that I know that is it possible that the consumers be enlightened to opt for these carbon net zero carbon products or biodiversity label products, and how do you see the future markets for that? Is it something viable?
Well, yes, it is viable, definitely. See, there are two markets that are on the horizon. One is there are emitting industries in India, for instance, who are, as you all know, that coal is inevitable. I mean, you can't replace coal very easily in India. So that is there. And while you look at reducing your footprints, reducing your emission levels, it is unlikely that they will reach net zero immediately. I'm talking about power, I'm talking about fertilizers, I'm talking about steel. Now, naturally, they have a need. See, the EU today has imposed a carbon tax of 25%. Tea has been left out, but there are sectors who are exporting to the EU who will have to pay 25% tax if they are not carbon neutral or carbon negative. So sectors like ours, if we effectively harness carbon, and that has a few complications, I'll just touch on it, there's not enough time to talk about it at length, could supplement the carbon deficit requirements of these sectors. We are doing carbon removal, right? So that is one. So that in itself has an overall salutary effect on the entire environment. And from what you are asking is about revenue. Yes. See, the customer is not bothered as yet. The customer is driven by taste, by flavor, by preference, by price. You know, if you tell a person that I make a tea or I make a product that is absolutely ethically sustainable, I pay minimum wages, I do this, I do that, I'm environmentally sustainable. But for my product, you have to pay 25 rupees more. And Bangladesh is dumping a product next door, which is less. People will buy that. So you see that level of awareness has not come. It is there. It is there, but it has not come to that level as yet. I hope it does someday. But what is required is, and what I think where this august audience, the NGOs, have a role to play. See, you all have to work on redefining what sustainable sourcing is. Today, when multinationals are sourcing any product, whether it is potatoes for chips or any other agricultural produce, while the supply chain which is producing and supplying is being certified for compliance, that are you compliant with environmental parameters? Are you compliant with ethical parameters? Are you safe? You have a horde of certification bodies who are in this. But there is no compliance to see whether the sourcing is happening at a level above cost of production. See, so what are you doing in that case? At the bottom of the pyramid, the gains of the price increase that comes from a product, the share is getting compressed. That's one. So I think the issue is there. And coming to measurable matrices, I just wanted to tell you that, share with you. See, I'm part of a framework of the FAO where we are looking at standardizing the carbon measurement matrix for the tea sector. We are working on that. Why? Say you are doing regenerative agriculture. How much carbon have you sequestered? How do you measure that? There's a physical measurement. There's also a satellite-based measurement. Now you generate carbon credits over 4 years. The market says that this is not good enough. So time has now come for carbon to be standardized not only in its initiation and production or storage, but also in determining how it has to be measured, so that the credits that you get are credible credits. It is going to be something like the international financial reporting standards. A balance sheet in the US and the balance sheet here will look, you can compare a business because the parameters are the same. So we are trying to do that. That is work in progress. I was in Kenya last month. We are working on that, and we should be able to finalize it in September, November. So that will happen. Government of India has come out with a policy now of starting a carbon registry. There is already a legislation in place. So there may not be a need for us to go outside. And this, as all our co-panelists are saying, that there's a need for an economic connect in what you do. So this, I believe, will become a revolution. And once it becomes a revolution, you will find that consumers also will start connecting with it. But the individual consumer, to answer your question today, is concerned with other priorities. They are not really bothered whether you're making a sustainable product or not. Unless, it is a product which has blood diamonds or something like that. People feel very strongly about those issues. But that apart, generally speaking, and there is no way that you can navigate. If you're in a supermarket today and you're going to buy tea, for instance, why are you paying 500 rupees for a tea and 1,000 rupees for another tea? There is nothing. You are going by a brand recall. You're going by a taste recall. There is nothing. So we are trying to develop a quality standard based on the antioxidant levels, but that's another story. But the fact is, today, you don't have enough discernible parameters that will also guide the consumer to make a decision. So that also will evolve.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Raha, because I think maybe the life program that is going on or the green credits that are coming up, maybe a sort of, it will add.
The ecosystem that is getting charged.
Yes.
It will happen.
Yes.
But I don't think it has happened as yet.
No, yeah. Yes, I think these dialogues may push it a little bit further because you are all in the policy plenaries and all working there with the governments in making the frameworks. Now to Karunadi with your final comments on looking at the issues that have come up. So you talked a lot about these localized, and we are all talking that solutions are at the local level. But how to connect again? That's the main question. When you are saying that yes, they are imported now, but we know that these are all like very small organizations who are working. Any message that you have to give to the CSOs here, to the corporates here, that how do we really, because I was just talking about maybe we had something called Pure Shrimp Initiative where Anurag is also now working on integrating mangroves and into the shrimps. So Pure Shrimp Initiative came out of a requirement that the shrimps were all like adulterated, all shrimp production. So similarly, like tea or any other products, like some pure initiatives to come up. So in this way, these livelihoods, how can it be connected to the market, and how do you see the CSOs playing a role there?
I think CSOs play the major role here. As I said, we have about 40 or 50 that we have, demonstrated, but they still remain in their villages. How are we going to replicate these, offer these for replication to others? It has to be via networks being built. It has to be via documentation that is available to all. All the awards we have placed there, but there are 40 or 50. There are thousands in India. People have to know what is there. They have to be able to talk to those people and address their concerns of what will happen. And this only, will come from CSR funding. If CSRs think about it, it is relating to gender, it's relating to sustainable development. You need to come across and do this. Anurag, I might make a radical statement by saying that at the age of 75 now, my thoughts have changed from the idealism I had that many of you younger ones still have to reality. Human beings are survivalists, and that survivalist instinct is not required today to beat off animals who might attack you or the elements that might pound you. This survival instinct comes from finance. Let's face it, let's not avoid that issue. We all need to make money. So instead of having the argument that do it for the environment, we can have the argument do it for your own profitability. Whenever I speak to corporate sector, my address is always saying your profits will go down unless you look to global warming. So we don't have to shy away from that issue. I know our parents always taught us that money doesn't matter, but it does matter. So that is mine.
Yes, money matters. And of course, we are here to talk about finances, access resources for doing what we want to really do. Now, quick questions. Yes, Pradeep said. Okay. Okay, yours is quick. Okay, sir. Let us have the quick first then.
My question is to Arijit sir.
Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Dr. Srijan Haldar. I'm representing organization Climate Thinker. So my question is to you, sir, that when the tea cultivation is looking for the regenerative agriculture cases, so why not, what is the scope of the microbe-based biofertilizer there? Because it's sprayable, it's eco-friendly and everything. Why not it is used in those areas?
Being used. It is being used very widely. See, there is a problem we have. Not only we have, it is a legal issue. FSSAI has a certain list of pesticides and insecticides that you can use for a particular product, and there are assigned MRLs, right? So, if you are not confining yourself to that, your product can be faulted, and that is an exhaustive list. It is not that as if you only outside that, because anything that is a biofertilizer has to be approved also. That is actually a biofertilizer, right? So that is an issue, but it is being used. It's not that it's being used. There are some which have been approved. It takes a little bit of time because the process is rigorous, as it should be, because you are looking at a product that you're ingesting that goes into a human body. So the chemical load has to be checked very, very carefully. So therefore, just because it is a biofertilizer, it cannot be used. It has to be approved by the authorities and notified as such. It is being used. I can tell you, the Darjeeling, 50% of the Darjeeling is today organic. Okay? And they have been organic for the last 20 years. It has taken a toll on Darjeeling, incidentally. I mean, the crop has come down, but the fact is they have sustained themselves. Right? So they're using it.
Yeah, we are very happy to hear that. And sir, the next session will also start. So
mine is just one observation and one suggestion for CSOs and for policymaker stakeholders.
yes.
When I was hearing Mr. Raha, absolutely story of tea, and very rightly how the things has changed over decades. So that reminded me of my visit to Australia Blue Mountains 2004 in World Heritage Conference. In the evening they kept a program in which one indigenous people on guitar, he sang a song, and in which he narrated, I am the indigenous people and now you are trying to protect me. I won't let you leave me, don't protect me, leave my area. Then there was another white gentleman, young fellow. He also came on a guitar. He said, my father was born here, I am born here, and I do not belong to anywhere, and now you say this is not my land. And when innocently Mr. Raha said, some of the elephants come and they think this is their area. So this reminded me of that story. Okay. So if I was wondering if Ajanta would have called one representative from elephant for big chair among panelists, his reply would have been, oh, till 1980-50, you were not there. And your tea gardens came, then forest villages came, railway lines came, then after 62 army came, and now you say we are problem. So I'm coming to the point. This was just observation, but the point is we are in a situation we cannot reverse it back.
Exactly.
We have to live with it.
Yeah.
For leopard also, they have not heard the word resilience. So till 1850 in the Assam and all that, there was absolutely no tea gardens. EPG, you might have heard his name. He was a planter in Assam. He has written a book in which he has mentioned that they have adapted so well to the tea gardens that they live 70 to 80%
Of
their
their
life in tea gardens. This is the adaptation, resilience they were not aware.
So that is
So-
the reason, you know, sir, the nature's rights have come up. That
Right.
who talks about nature's
So
rights?
I'm coming to the point, and the point is in India, our wildlife laws are so strict that some of the things which has to be done, it's so much difficulty in implementing that. For example, with WWF, Forest Department was trying to do a contraceptive program. Protection has been given so nicely in North Bengal that when I joined in 85 in North Bengal, at that time elephant population was 185 and now it's about 700. So they have improved. But the forest quality has gone down, population has gone down, so it's bound to result in conflict. I am coming to suggestion. You see, Forest Survey of India, they publish a report every, I think, second year, in which they classify dense forest, this moderately dense forest, and degraded forest. Quantum of degraded forest is also very high in North Bengal, and especially it is in the periphery from the tea garden, because a lot of labor go inside for firewood or for other purpose or for illicit purpose. So, and the degraded forest means the density less than 40%. My suggestion is in India you have acts barring few patches in the this northeast, you have the ownership or tenure rights to the state only, all forest. I think time has come to develop some models as available in many other countries where some of these degraded areas has to be revived involving communities, stakeholders like tea gardens, because the microclimate affects the tea production. The water availability, adjoining jhoras and all that. So I think this planters can be a very strong stakeholder to pursue this type of model. We want to be involved. NGOs can be involved. And now everything since last 20 years is in the GIS maps. So it is measurable, the difference which can be bought in. So this is a practical suggestion I have given to the forum. Thank you.
Sir. Thank you very much, sir. And with that, we come to the conclusion. Thank you very much, the distinguished panelists. It was a really lovely session, and I would like to take the key takeaways into the last closing session. And so, the anchors, please.
Hello.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Day, for chairing this session, and thank you all distinguished speakers for your insightful deliberation. Now I'll quickly ask our Honorable Advisory Committee member, Dr. Pradeep Vyas, to come to the dais, and we will start felicitating the panel members. We are honored to felicitate Mr. P.K. Bharadwaj, Mr. Anamitra Anurag Danda, Mr. Manoj Singh, Mr. Arjit Raha, and Ms. Kanura Singh in recognition of their outstanding contribution and dedication to the respective sectors.
This is from And these are all water hyacinth things from the Sundarban.
We would now request to chair and the esteemed panelists and dignitaries for the photo session.
Thank you.
Hello. With this, we conclude the breakout session 3.1, Nature-Based Livelihoods and Climate Adaptation, on the theme of climate resilience. Tea is served outside, so we will resume the next session in the next 15 minutes. So I'll please ask the participant of the next meeting to come back within 15 minutes so we can start the session. Session will be chaired by Ms. Nisa D'Souza from Econish. She is a conservationist with over 12 years of experience focusing on marine and coastal restoration ecology. She holds degrees from University of Sydney and University of Cambridge in marine science and conservation leadership, trained as an IUCN Red List assessor and a founder director of Econish in 2018. Please welcome Ms. Nisa D'Souza to the stage. Next, let me call upon stage Mr. Anindit Roy Chaudhary from TDH, a dynamic leader with 25 years of experience in managing annual budgets of over $35 million with funding from USAID, EU, and BMGF. He has led a 300% growth in humanitarian response during COVID-19, an expert in social impact and investment and transforming lives of the most marginalized. Please welcome Mr. Anindit Roy Chaudhary. Next in the panel, I'll love to call upon stage Ms. Shushmita Guho from WaterAid India with 18 years of experience in right-based program design, championing child rights and gender equality. She leads the impactful WASH initiatives in West Bengal, holding an MPhil in Women's Studies and practicing organic urban farming and Vipassana meditation. Please welcome Ms. Shushmita Guho.
Let's meet our next panelist, Ms. Ruth Chattopadhyay, transforming 20 years of career in computer education. 7 years ago, she founded Postic Life in 2018, a social initiative committed to safe and sustainable food system, having empowered over 300 women and created market opportunities for rural producers. Welcome, Ms. Ruth Chattopadhyay. She was. Anyway, someone please look for Ruth. She was here. Manish. So our next panelist is Mr. Manish Ranjan from HPE, an accomplished ESG practitioner and lead consultant recently named a national expert by the Asian Productivity Organization. He combines green AI and ELOT with the strong focus on ROI and impact, currently pursuing a PhD on digital transformation and sustainability while contributing to UN initiatives. Please welcome Mr. Manish Ranjan. So our next panelist is Ms. Prachi Patil from Wasan, leading waterland and climate resilience efforts across the India's rain-fed regions. She develops innovative processes, tools like EPRE integrated with GIS and Google Earth, supporting the large-scale water resource projects benefiting hundreds of thousands of farmers across Odisha and Andhra Pradesh, Telangana and Karnataka. Please welcome Ms. Prachi Patil. Now we hand over the mic to Ms. D'Souza to take over and steer the session.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a real pleasure for me to be chairing this important session on mainstreaming women and youth in climate action. Across India, we have seen that women, young people, and marginalized communities are often the ones at the front lines of climate change. They are the ones absorbing the shocks, the erratic weather, the biodiversity loss, the food and water insecurity, while also tending to the well-being of their families, growing our food, sustaining their communities. And yet, they are rarely the ones shaping the decisions. Today's session is about shifting that, moving from symbolic inclusion to meaningful leadership, from viewing women, youth, and marginalized communities as beneficiaries to actually recognizing and acknowledging them as powerful change agents. As you've heard, our panel brings diverse voices from civil society, business, and grassroots development, each with unique insights into how we can make gender and youth responsive climate action a lived reality, not just an aspiration. So let's get into it. The way we'll structure this is if our panelists can all introduce their work a little bit, and then we'll go into a round of questions, and then we'll open it up to the audience, if that's fine. So Anandit, I'll ask you to start.
Sorry, okay, let's not waste time on that one. Hi everyone, my name is Anindit Roy Chaudhary. I represent an organization called Tedes Home, TDH. It's a Swiss child rights organization. To just introduce, I think a couple of things it would be important to talk about. One is an automatic question could have been maybe 5 years ago or 10 years ago that if you're talking about nature, if you're talking about environment, if you're talking about conservation of nature, climate change, why do you have a child rights organization here? I think we did approach development in silos earlier, which we are now trying very hard to break, and that I think is a very important one. So for me, it has been a privilege. It has also been a great learning opportunity from experts, let's say like Nisha or others, who consistently are doing things that I have never done before. It's been 26 years of doing child rights work and gender justice work, but I have never really looked at things from the climate change lens until the last 4 or 5 years. And that shift is happening everywhere. So even organizations that have been working in the area of nature conservation or have been working on climate change are now talking about child rights, human rights, other kinds of breaking down of silos, because that's how relevant that work is. So to introduce myself, I would say I'm here because I want to learn. I'm here because I want to hear from each one of you, which I have been doing. And also share from my not so knowledgeable perspective how child rights clearly has intersectionalities with climate change, with nature, with conservation of nature and elements like that. So I'm really eager to listen to my fellow panelists and also to the rest of you. Thank you.
I think this is working, right? Yeah. Very good afternoon, all of you. I'm Shushmita Guha. I'm representing WaterAid India. That's an organization started from United Kingdom, and we are working in 30 countries across the globe. I am responsible for the West Bengal state programs, and you can understand from the name that it is primarily working on water, sanitation and hygiene, and which is very well linked with the topic today, reserving nature, working towards climate, investing on climate change and nature. So same like Anindita said, I'm really keen, and from the morning I'm listening to many speeches, and that is really giving me that clue that how we are interdependent into each other and how we can further collaborate and integrate ourselves towards the goal we are thinking of achieving. So yeah, willing to listen to all of you and contribute with my opinion. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Ruth Chattopadhyay, representing Paustik Life. Basically, we are into an organic distribution, but it's not only about distribution, but it's a holistic approach that we are taking into. We are not only just selling organic food, but also into conservation of it. So Paustik Life, it's situated in Kolkata. It's, you can say, the front end. The back end is at Raiganj, and the FPC that we directly connect with is FIAM, Federation for Indigenous Agricultural Movement. And our work is very much aligned with today's topic, that mainstreaming women and youth. So at Paustik Life, it's a women-led initiative with 60:40 women-to-men ratio, and most of our, like the 70% of the team members are youth. So and at the farm level also, it is of 180 farmers of the FPC, 30 are women who are actively involved in farming. Not only that, 50% of the farmers are youth, that is below 30, and same with Paustik Life also, that's below 30. And 40% of the women, means out of 30 women, 40% of the women are actually having land holdings. Means in India, in most of the cases, we have seen that the women are very much into the farming practices, but land holding is in the name of the men of the family. So that's why many a times they are not counted. They are not documented as farmers. So so there are different aspects that we are facing because we are working with youth, we are working with women. So there are different aspects that we are coming across. That is, we are facing some challenges. There are opportunities as well, and we are here to discuss about that. We have with us one of our farmer families from Raiganj over here, and you can see that she has to come with her kids, because again that's a challenge of being a woman who is working. They are actively into farming as well as cowshed management of the FIAM FPC. So I'm here to interact from the morning. We are listening to so many sessions, and it's almost at the end of the program. So we are here to just exchange more views and collaborate with each other, so that many aspects of the entire journey can be addressed. Thank you.
Hi. Thanks for inviting me on this stage and to discuss on a very important topic. This is Manish Ranjan here. I work for Hewlett Packard Enterprise, and we are supporting multiple organizations across the globe to have their sustainable journey. We work on ESG. ESG is basically environment, social, and governance, and we are also contributory to a lot of CSR funds through which we support women and youth, which is on center stage these days in the era of ESG, where social is also a very, very important part to get the momentum and rankings for the large organizations. So yes, we are contributing to the society. We are working for youth and women. So we would like to discuss this on this stage, and we'll take this forward.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Prachi Patil. I come from an organization named Vasan, which has its headquarters in Hyderabad. Our origin is in watershed programs, but then, and our mandate is to work in rain-fed areas. So today I'm bringing to the table the perspective from the ground when we are working with the people, when we are implementing the program. And then what are the challenges we face also when we try to integrate youth, women, and then also to run the program at the field level. So this is the perspective which I'll be bringing. Although I would admit in the beginning only, our organization does not exclusively work on youth or women, but then by default it is when we go on field it is part, and that's how you have to work on. So thank you.
Thank you everyone for those introductions. Okay, let's discuss a little deeper on this topic. Prachi, I think we'll continue with you, if that's okay. Can you speak a little more about how we can move beyond just having women represented in climate action and really start integrating their perspectives in meaningful ways, and maybe some of the ways that you have done that?
So, see, I'll give one example. Again, this is from the field example only. So, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, that we specifically work in rain-fed areas. So, we were doing one study which was related to understanding different multi-cropping systems which are traditionally practiced across India. And one of our study location was Andhra Pradesh, where there is Navdhanya system, which is a traditional system where around 9 to 10 different crops are planted in a given plot. And this is completely rain-fed agriculture. There is no other source, even groundwater source for irrigation. And this combination is of pulses, oil seeds, millets, and some fodder crop combination as well, which even caters to the household nutrition, fodder, and some targeting to the market. With this as a background, a similar type of case studies were also documented across. So when we were conducting this FGD in Andhra Pradesh, we initially started interacting with the farmers, generally male farmers, to understand the system in detail. But once we started digging it further, there were few women who were sitting there, and then they started saying ki, if male farmer is doing, plowing and all those part, and if woman is not accompanying during the field when the sowing is happening, all the field automatically changes into monocropping, which is majorly the groundnut in that area. And then groundnut crop is targeted for the market, which, obviously for the income. But let's say in that same field, when the woman is accompanying during the sowing time with the farmer, then all this nutritional part, what I mentioned, like pulses, oil seeds, and all this part comes into picture. So this was one of the eye-opener thing for us also, that we are collecting data from wrong stakeholders. And then the linkages with not only with the household nutrition, but also the livestock fodder, and then sustaining it throughout the year is something which is taken care by women. And these are highly climate resilient agriculture practices, and they have been traditionally been practiced. And this is a common scenario which we see across, India. So what I always feel is, and this is my field observation also, transformation or integrating women who are already, with lot of work. They are, running the house. When we go on field, they are also extensively involved in agriculture practice. And then bringing them, again, the child care is separate, altogether a job. And then bringing them into, mainstreaming, wherein we want to bring them in enterprise, business, and orient them to even to develop the simple skills. It's not an easy task. Because for women to spare that time, अगर हम शाम को जाएंगे तो खाना पकाना होता है, सुबह जाएंगे खाना पकाना होता है, दोपहर में जाएंगे फील्ड में जाना होता है, बच्चे आ रहे हैं स्कूल से, तो to get even those time slots to speak with them, it's a long journey. So our expectation that this change happens in 3 years, 5 years is not possible, because वो orientation भी नहीं है, वो exposure भी नहीं है, and it takes time. It's a change. It's going to take time. So, but there are really very good examples. Eventually we can share here also, where women have taken up some course and they have really done very excellent job. Subsequently, I can share those examples. But yeah, this is the point. Thank you.
Thank you, Prachi. So, taking their current lived realities into consideration when designing these actions is extremely important, right? Okay. Manish, if we could continue with you. I think it was mentioned that you're working at the intersection of digital literacy and climate change. Can you speak a little bit about how young people are being or can be better integrated into this space, and how you see digital tools and access to information being used and to address deep-rooted inequalities, especially when it comes to climate resilience and biodiversity loss?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for asking this. Our approach when we interact with youth and women and those sections of the society, from this a technology company and which is a global giant. So we have a structured approach to do it. I think many of you are aware, it's marketing terms, it is called bottom up and top down. So both the approaches are important to make sure that whatever strategy or policies you are making should be implemented on the ground. So if we talk about bottom up means basically from the candidate itself. Suppose you want to touch that section of the society, how you are doing directly for them, which policies can go directly to them, and how they can enhance themselves directly. So in the bottom up approach, what we do, we enable youth and women from the training perspective, from the skilling perspective. Like if you heard about the green skill these days, ministry has come out, the Indian government has come out with a green skill foundation. So they are giving a lot of training and emphasis on green skill in terms of how youth and even women on any section of the society can be benefited from that, if how they can get certified, get the skill and get the job, or start their own business. So, and that is mostly focused to the sustainability and climate action only. The entire that green skill jobs are only focused on that. That is very, very important, so that youths are basically skilled and they are getting jobs as well. Second important thing is hand holding. Only training and a certification is not going to help anyone. So how do a large organization handhold those youth and women, and make sure that in whatever field they want to excel, if they are able to do that or not. So handholding is very, very important. That we also do part of our CSR projects. Then at the same time, now banks are coming out. So it's a role of technology here. Banks are coming out with preferential loans for sustainable financing, it is called basically. So sustainability linked loans, SLL is a new term in the banking industry, and banks have come out because of the pressure from their funding agencies, pressure from the RBI. So they want to have the bank's loan climate resilient one, where it's not impacted by the climate. So for that, there are preferential rates for the loan, like 0.5% to 1% reduction is there. so that it's not only on the paper, it's also on the ground, and the borrowers are getting a benefit of that if they are getting into those climate resilient infrastructure, or getting into those kind of projects. So this is where technology helps the organizations to reach out to the people, to track whether the projects are sustainable or not, because there are a lot of KPIs which you have to follow and you have to measure so that you can call it a sustainable project. Otherwise, anybody can qualify. So that is a very important thing we keep on doing. Third thing, with West Bengal government, what we are doing here in Bengal itself. We have come out with a course on sustainability actually. So because a lot of organizations are looking forward to youth or women or any section of the society who are sustainable trained actually. So there are a lot of compliances these days. One of the compliances is called BRSR by SEBI. So if somebody wants to have those kind of frameworks filled for their organization, they need to have trained people. So we have started a program with Government of West Bengal. There are across Bengal. This is called YCTC, basically Youth Computer Training Centers. There you have 1,000+ centers across Bengal, in every part of the Bengal, and there we are going to start this training program for the youth and women specifically. And the prices are so low that anybody can afford. Actually, it's a government-funded program. So these are the things which are happening on the ground, and how we are supporting it. It's quite evident, and you can see our CSR report and other stuff where you can see those things. So, and that top down is also there, like the kind of policies are being made. Like suppose government is making a CSR policy, it's not only about the 2%. It should also be about how you can target this to this section of the society so that they are getting direct beneficial. Otherwise, it's all name plating, like I'm giving you 2% and nothing is going on ground that way. So there should be some kind of mandate for private companies. They are anyway doing it because of their branding, their policies and all. But for the larger organization, there should be some kind of policy from government to do that. Thank you for asking.
Thank you. And that's a very pertinent point, is bridging the policy and the on-ground actions. And also building for people what they want, not just their perceived needs, but their actual needs, and particularly with youth, very important. Ruth, I'd like to ask you if you could talk about some of the challenges you face, especially around the social taboos or the invisible work that women do, and how that affects your projects, and what inspires you to focus on inclusion in your work.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
So basically, working with women, what we found here in Paustik Life, which is a distribution center, and also at the farm level at our FPC in Uttar Dinajpur, working with women is much more easier because women are, good observers. They learn. They're eager to learn. They can be easily trained. They pick up things. They apply. That is what we have seen more. Also, it is at Paustik Life, we generally work with first generation learners. Around 70% of our team are first generation learners. So again, and they are youth. So again, working with them, we have a lot of advantages. Like they come with an open mind where we can train. And what happens if we want to go for experienced or trained persons, then in that case, with organic and sustainable practices, people who have not come from that background, it is difficult to make them learn. Means first we have to make them unlearn and then relearn our practices. So that becomes difficult on our part as well as the person who is undergoing the training. So in that case, youth and women, and as well as I said, we work with first generation learners, it is easier to work with them. And at the farm level, it is, the women, they already have the traditional knowledge, because we work with mainly indigenous varieties of crop, and also we focus on forage food, so uncultivated food. So women at the rural level, they already have a knowledge. Only thing is which has been lost, we just try to ignite the traditional practices once again. Like we are working with an NGO, DRCSC, where we are working with uncultivated and neglected crops. So it is the women at the rural level who have come up with recipes, and they have come up with innovative recipes as well with those crops which have been neglected, like roselle and lesser yam and things alike. So it is just our work to reignite and bring them at the forefront. And regarding the challenges, at Poshtik Life, as I said, that we work with first generation learners, so they generally come from an economically underprivileged background. So, and our consumers, because Kolkata is a very price sensitive market, our consumers are mostly from upper middle class, middle and upper middle class. So it often happens that since they do not, their lifestyle doesn't match, they are incapable to understand what are the expectations of the customers, because because our team members, they directly interface the customer. So the expectations and what the customers want to communicate, these are few challenges that we often face while working with such personnel. And at the field level also, there is also a mismatch between the rural producer and the urban consumer, where just I would like to give an example, like the packaging. Urban consumers are more bothered about packaging, where the rural producers are not. They are more focused on the product than about the packaging. So these are a few challenges that we meet while working. And also regarding the social taboos, there are like in the urban scenario as well as in the rural scenario, there are certain expectations of the family from the women, which sometimes come in between the work the women want to pursue. Just also the household responsibilities, like Nilima has come with me. She has to bring her children with her. She cannot leave them behind. So these are few challenges that women face. Also, there are households where the women is not allowed to go and work in the fields. There are households where the women is expected to spend certain amount of time with the family and has to be there in family functions and all. So these are things that sometimes come in the way of their work. Otherwise, but the positive side of it is that women are advancing and they are eager to take up new jobs. At Poshtik Life also, we have seen that our women employees, they have got a recognition of their work instead of it's okay, yeah. It's okay. Instead of working doing some work which doesn't have any recognition, or where they do not learn anything, where they do not have any scope to innovate or put in their ideas to show their talent, it is this platform we should
give them a chance to do that. And that is what we are constantly striving to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. It was very interesting to hear about how you're creating an enabling environment to include youth and women in work. So Smita, I'd like to ask you a little bit about how in your work, how important is it to consider intersecting vulnerabilities like age, like gender, caste, when working with women and youth? Climate issues are making water access, availability so much more urgent these days. And could you also speak to the role of climate-friendly wash infrastructure and menstrual hygiene?
Of course. To start with, women are the population who actually collect water, store water, use water, and perhaps the waste of water can also happen through women if not being trained or mindful about it. So yeah, women are very primary to how we are using and saving water. In a way, we all should be very mindful about it. Like we all eat rice. So do we know how much water it takes to cultivate rice? A kg of rice. Any guess? Yeah, almost that. 8 to 10,000 liters of water needs for rice cultivation. And how much water do we need as human being per day? Any idea? 3 to 4 liters that you drink. And then how much there is? Yeah. Any per person per day, right? 135 is the mark for the urban population. So 135 liters water individually we use every day. In one flush, how much water? Any idea? Huh? A little less than that. Around 10 liters. So imagine how much water we need to survive on this earth. Since you bring this water issue, that's why I'm saying. And intersectionality is very important because, as I said, like when people are more vulnerable, the access to water, especially access to clean water, because the water we are consuming is also decides how our health will be. There are water which can create huge health issues, but people are taking those water because they have no other option. So vulnerability, intersectionality makes it even more difficult. That's always true. And whenever, I think in the last panel, someone mentioned about the vulnerability mapping. That's very important because vulnerability also varies from time to time, from place to place, from context to context. So yes, I think I could answer your first question. And about the climate-friendly wash infrastructure that you mentioned about. Again, vulnerability plays a very crucial role because it's not about making the infrastructure. So with the current government, they're putting a lot of emphasis on water and sanitation. We all know about Jal Jeevan Mission. We all know about Swachh Bharat Mission. It's Bengali version of Nirmal Bangla and Shojol Dhara. So they are trying to make sure that every household has clean water, open defecation and no more. But whether that is functional, that is context appropriate, those are not taken care of. And there comes the role of the CBO because those are the hardware part where you have constructed one toilet, but whether the toilet is accessible for a person with disability, whether the toilet is menstrual friendly or not, whether the toilet is or the wash stations are appropriate for a child or not, those are the quality aspect intersections that we need to be careful about. And there comes the
software part where the behavioral change and communication comes in, because you might have a toilet, you might have a source of water, you have access so that the special need people are also can access that, but maybe the behavior, like my behavior is to go to the open field, and open defecation, what I have seen my my ancestors are doing, and I'm doing the same. Bring that behavioral change. Make sure that the grey water that maybe women and we all are wasting, how that can be reusable. Because groundwater, just I think during the lunch, the person, he said that there are a lot of water, there is no problem if we waste water. But the waters are limited. There are groundwaters, there are rainwaters, and only any idea, again I'm asking a question before I conclude, any idea what percentage of water can be consumed by human, or it's clean water? Overall 3%, and within that 3%, only 1% can be for human use. So we can understand how less that is. Otherwise, it's either salty, or it's frozen, or it's black water that cannot be consumed. So these are very critical issues regarding wash, and especially water, and intersectionality, vulnerability, of course, makes it sometimes more difficult. So thank you.
Thank you, Susmita. I think we can all reflect on our own water footprints moving forward. Continuing with the theme also of health, Anandit, we're seeing increasing links between youth migration, child health, and climate change. In your work, what has it taken to reverse some of these trends? And what insights can you share from your engagement with Subcommittee 6 at the village level? And what kind of changes do you think are needed there?
Thanks. Thanks to Shushmita, I think she gave me some great ideas. We've often said that children are the future of the nation. We've all heard this. I mean, I heard this very often when one was growing up. But we often forget that children are now. There won't be a future if you don't take care of children now. So to imagine that they would emerge suddenly out of the blue in the future will not happen if we don't take care of children now. So at some level, children often are kind of forgotten in major discourses. So let's do a quiz. Let's say, how many of you have actually been children in your life? Come on. Serious question, man. How many? 100%, right? You've all been children. Now my question is, how many of you were truly asked, what will be your school syllabus? How many of you were told what would be the design of your house? How many of you were told how the transportation that you use would be designed, whether it's timing, whether it's kind of seats? None. We often forget children when it comes to their voice. We consider children as from the point of view of recipients because we often decide on behalf of children. And I'm not saying that's wrong or right, that's a value-driven statement, I'm not going there. What I'm saying is that is the practice. When a child in this room starts crying, the natural reaction, and I'm not saying that's a villainous reaction, the natural reaction is let that child be outside of the room because she or he is disturbing the rest of the audience. Perhaps she's not. She's just being a child. Now this consideration of reality is a reality that we all have lived with. There's nothing to feel bad about. It's okay. That's what we are trying to bring into the conversation when we are saying, let us bring children in the forefront of decisions that are taken on their behalf. So when we are talking about migration, I'll give you a little example. We have done, based on the last 3 years of the studies that we have done in the Sundarbans, about 60% of the households reported that they have at least have 1 or 2 members who have migrated from their homes. 60%, that's like very high. They have said that the age of migrant people from their household has reduced from 25 to 18. So earlier slightly older people were moving. Now younger and younger people are moving. So children are a part of that movement. But if you look at decision making of why that movement is happening, decision making in terms of what they would do. I mean, Nisha did ask me about how do you reverse that trend? How would that be done if children are not even considered in those conversations? You know, I was talking to Shotyajit, who I met today for the first time here, and he said something. He said he's like the angry young man of the 70s. I love it. He reminds me of me 30 years ago, or maybe even more. He said something. He said, you know, we often use the word first generation learners, but women and children are not first generation learners. They are first generation school goers, maybe, because they have all learned something. There has been a learning, of course, and that's what Shushmita was talking about, that the learning of these communities have been there forever. What we are now having to do is tweak that learning a little bit. Tell them that the learning that you have had needs to be changed because, let's say, you need to conserve water, or you need to change your migration practices, or you need to ask the right questions before you migrate. So essentially, we need to really go down to the basics and start the practice of asking children questions that we really pay heed to. Not just ask questions from the point of view of being tokenistic. You know, I'll give you another interesting figure. About 87% of households who are moving out of Sundarban rely on middlemen or are employed in informal and unregulated sectors with poor working conditions and legal protections, which means that the issue of human trafficking, the issue of forced labor, all of these things become realities because children are said, oh, you now have work, stop school, go work in Kolkata, work in Bombay, work in X, Y, and Z. Now, why am I saying all of this? Because all of these things are happening within the lens of climate change. Please understand that, you know, when we speak to children now, or other families or communities in the Sundarban, they'd say the older grandparent age groups, a little older than me, that age group would actually say that we would see one major climate crisis in a lifetime. Shara jibone ekbar dekhechi. The generation next, which is, let's say, my generation, would actually say that we have seen it at least once in 10 years. You ask the children of today, they are seeing a climate crisis every year. Every year there is a Moni, Poni, Amphan, this, that, and the other. I don't remember the names now. But every year, consistently, it has happened. What it means is that the climate is consistently changing, and what it is doing to families is far more rigorous than it used to be. So, for me, what is interesting is, A, we have to give children and youth their voices and actually listen to them, because they would be able to guide us as to what this change means to them and how would they want to cope or mitigate with that change. So that's number one. The second element is looking at various things through the climate lens is very important. So like I was saying at the very beginning when one was introducing, that if for me, I just look at child marriage as child marriage and don't look at child marriage from the climate change lens, then I'm missing out on the possibility of the intersectional vulnerabilities that Shushmita was talking about. Also, and Nisha asked me about the PRIs. Think about a child or a young person and the PRI. What is the interaction there? Children don't vote. Before 18, you are actually not considered. I'm very sorry to say that, but that's the reality. You are considered a responsibility of your parents, but you're not considered as your voice, as who you are, what you need, how you are. You know, for instance, we have often said that when children haven't learned how to speak, they often communicate through crying and laughing. That's the two things that they do. But a mother often realizes that the child is crying because she is hungry or he is hungry, or the child is crying because there's a colic pain, or she's sleepy, etc., etc. How does the mother know it? Because the child, even through that crying, is communicating. The question is often, when we are looking at policies, when we are looking at Panchayati Raj institutions, we are not wanting to listen to that voice. And I'm not saying for the child who's as young as who can only cry or laugh, but look at children even more, look at young people. Look at 14, 15, they have a voice they have a point of view, they have a clear understanding, and often in the current family structure, they're often more informed because of internet, because of school that they're going to, because of the access to smartphones, etc. that they have. They're often more informed than probably their parents have been or are. So let us take that opportunity. So for me, Nisha, to be able to answer that, how are we influencing? The influencing is still adults influencing a group of adults. But what can make a huge difference is if children have the voice and the space to be able to communicate with PRI groups, they would actually make a larger difference, because that's when they would say, this is what happened to me when I was, trafficked. This is what happened to me when I went for work, or this is the kind of reality that I have when my school day goes missing by 23% of the number of days of school in Sundarban. 23% of the number of days of schooling in Sundarban is lost purely because of the various incidents that we have. So my humble suggestion is that when we are looking at climate change and when we are bringing in the lens of climate change, it's important to put that lens into the eyes of children and youth, because the way they would see the world would certainly be somewhat different from what we see. Thank you.
That's very powerful and true.
Please don't clap.
No, because it's true. In intergenerational learning, our rigid education systems, what we are teaching the younger generation needs to be adapted. It needs to be questioned, because what they're living, the environments that they're living in, and so on, are changing so rapidly today. So very true. I'd like to open the floor up to questions from the audience before we proceed.
Hello. Yeah, my question is to Anand, that I fully agree with you that way that you said that being an academician and being an NGO that we have founded, we are quite related with the climate education. Means we also have a platform in Bengali for last 4 or 5 years through which we are teaching climate change to the young people in Bengal. So the major things that we have faced while we are going through that when we are going to teach, especially the young, between the class 5 to 10, this batch, when we have faced the question raised by their guardians, not by the students, will it be add any marks to the final mark sheet? So this rat race, when we are going through it, it's very difficult to penetrate. Means what we face is rather we need a training session for the guardians rather than we go with the children. And my question is how we can break this. Means being an academician, sometimes we failed. We really failed. We unable to penetrate it, and we have to step back from there. So if any suggestions will be welcome.
I'll go with this. No one promised that this is going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. That's the only reality. I mean, people who have turned grey in this business will tell you that it's not going to be easy. But I think your question is exceptionally pertinent, that, often children are seen through a different lens by their guardians to what they are actually seeing, because often the guardian, eta number badbe kina, eta ki apnar curriculum mein add hocche kina, that becomes your question. To me, there are three issues here. I think what we don't do, and Nisha used the word which is the more technical word, so to speak, is intergenerational dialogue. We often don't do intergenerational dialogue. We often talk to groups in silos. Today I will talk to women. If you see NGO practices over the last 30 years that I've known, you would actually notice, someone would say, I only work with women groups. I only work with youth groups. I only work with farmer groups. I only work with FPOs, etc. We are constantly labeling, and we are putting them in certain clusters that suit us, and therefore we have these conversations. What we often don't do is intergenerational dialogue, which actually will allow us to be able to be more specific to the approach. That's number one. Number two is, I often think that our learning system is so geared towards getting marks and doing well in tests that we forget that it's actually a learning exercise. The testing, it's not a testing exercise. And also the tests are created in a way that it checks what you don't know or what you don't remember rather than what you have learnt and what you have not. So I think, but I would also say that I passed out in 93 from school, which was many years ago. Several people were not born. But anyway, 93, and I see my son who's in school now, he's in the 10th standard, but I often see that the certain standards of teaching and practices have not changed. It's been years. You're more or less, you're teaching the same thing. So my other point is it's high time for us to start talking about, not from a curriculum perspective, but more from a vision of teaching perspective. Curriculum will happen after that. Because we have often we often tweak the curriculum. Each subject a bar karo, each subject a dhokao, etc. But the word she used is true. Pedagogy is the real issue that needs to be handled. So I think those are some things that, but it's not going to be easy. And it's not probably going to be in my lifetime, let's say. But we can't stop trying.
Hi Nisha, I too have a question to you. I see you are Marine, and I was seeing your resume, and one of India's economy, climate would definitely be controlled by Marine in the coming days, and it is the world's economy that they're controlling. So what do you see the role of ocean literacy in our country, which doesn't literally exist? And the other thing that I want to ask is that I want to extend an indate, is that I know my government doesn't take care, but as a civil society organization and the private, from Hewlett Packard or several other private, how open we are if some, say, 21-year-old brash boy or girl comes up with a good idea to entrust and fund that person to bring some change, or to rather put them under hierarchical pressure and to put them in a box to follow others. The first question is to Nisha, and the next question to everyone.
But he mentioned. Oh, yes.
He doesn't want to talk to me. He likes you.
Did he not mention? He said, continuing from yours.
She didn't talk. The context of talk.
What I was saying. That's like.
Well, thank you for that question. I think ocean literacy is obviously very important. A huge population in our country, in the world, depends on our oceans. And our oceans are so interconnected with lives, regardless of whether you live on the coast or not.
Correct.
You know, our weather patterns, everything is dictated arguably by the oceans. And I think only recently, if some of you saw, David Attenborough said that if we address the challenges to the oceans, we will hopefully protect the planet. I feel like you're right. In the past, ocean literacy has been absent from our country, in our country. I think that's changing. I think there is an increased understanding and acknowledgement that we need to protect and conserve our oceans. And it's termed in many different ways. I think there's no unified understanding of what ocean literacy is, or even the initiatives that are coming up, the blue carbon or blue ecosystems or whatever they mean. Yeah. And there isn't a unified approach to actually, so we're all working in, again, silos in our own little ways of doing this. But yeah, the dependencies are high. And there are a lot of solutions, some of which are being implemented by organizations at this forum. A lot of solutions that are to protect and restore our ecosystems. But again, I will say here that is becoming more challenging because of climate uncertainties, because of various large-scale infrastructure development programs happening along the coast that aren't looking at, or in a holistic way, looking at how we can address, resilience, we can address local small-scale industries happening along the coastline without bringing the voices of the many stakeholders into the process. There's so much happening along the coastline, and it's a dynamic space. So conservation has been challenged. I wouldn't say necessarily that it is a question of awareness. I would say that people are aware of what is happening. Many of us are aware. But it is a question of how do we work together to increase that. So moving one step ahead, I would say from ocean literacy to actually working on some of these solutions in a holistic, systematic way is very much necessary. I think I waffled a bit there, but I hope I kind of answered your question.
Whenever we are working in these spaces, especially in the rural areas, like water, it's a very, very important issue. But you know that water issues are also connected to many other issues, also health, education, farming, women health with use of pesticides, many things. Now, do you see that the CSOs, this is a great challenge, that the CSOs are working in silos. So do you think that there are scope that we can build in those niche skills together and work together at the grassroots to make some impacts? So how do you see that as an organization working? Do you see that such scopes can be built? Because that's what we are trying to make about partnerships. Because everyone in this dais has their own skill sets, own areas, like you said, which is very good, which is the expertise that it brings onto the board. But that all experts somewhere has to work together to achieve what we need to achieve. So do you see that coming, or do you see that some policies, or do you think that some behavioral more appropriation are needed among the civil society, or I don't know, but I'm just asking you that how do you feel it?
Asking me? Yeah, okay. Since it's what it's me. So yes, I mean it's going beyond asking that it's always important to partner with each other. Unfortunately, I don't know why there are stalwarts in this room. NGOs are working for such a long time, but still, I think it's.
But still, we continue working in silos. There must be some reason that we cannot be united, or we must be very focused with our, like you said, mandated, all organization. Anindit is mandated for child rights, maybe we are mandated for WASH, she's mandated for the organic farming or organic production. So maybe our mandate made us very much focused towards our work, and we don't see the flexibility of going beyond and integrate things. Like Anindita already mentioned that we work in, like, it's my specialization, I will work only on child rights. Perhaps the kind of donors we are dealing with, they are not also allowing us for going beyond. They also have some mandates, like sticking into some thematic areas or so. So there must be some reason, but I think this is time that we should think about how we should go beyond it and create some collaboration, make it more integrated, so that we bring changes, those are integrated changes. Like you said, it's very, very linked. Like I forgot to address one of your questions, like menstrual health. So I forget the number, but some crore women are at their menstruating age, and they are producing so much menstrual waste. Do we ever talk about where this goes, how we manage the menstrual waste, and how should we manage it? So those are the things, like maybe I realize that we work in certain mandates, but we know that this is something which is impacting our work, but we cannot go beyond the stipulated things that we are given to. So I think that's a problem, and since I'm really amazed to see the diverse panels that you have chosen, the people you have onboarded, and I think there's an excellent forum, and news and the CRB together can actually initiate something where we can go beyond our stipulated areas and do something in convergence.
Can I add one more point to this? So, there is this RRI network is one of the network, which is one of the sister organization of WASIN. but now independently functioning. This network is working with multiple CSOs. So just why I'm highlighting, because you pointed the right point. Just last week, there is another feed organization working in Gadchiroli. Their specialization is in fisheries. But the program at Gram Panchayat is to develop enterprises based on the principle of circular economy. They're not having been expertise in other areas, so they reached out to the platform, which connected again Vasan team members going to the field along with the feed team to do the field surveys to come up with the evolved plan, what can be evolved from the field. So such type of platforms or network which work for certain agenda gives flexibility for other experiences. So maybe one NGO working in seed system is, and they're quite doing in advance, I need not to start it from zero. So that experience customized to my local area can be built upon and the work can be taken forward. So such platforms are quite helpful when we, take the work at field level, and they helps to break the silos as well.
True, but it's not that we haven't tried to build networks, but how to make those networks functional is it's a pressing question.
Can I?
True.
Yes, ma'am. Corporates definitely have the role here, because of this mandatory CSR things and all. So definitely we are working, because I am not expert in those things. That's why this kind of forum is there. But definitely corporates are responsible and they are working in this. You can take examples from, ICICI Bank, where we are also, working for their, sustainability goals and ESG basically. So they have certain programs which are actually, focusing on the areas what we are discussing. I will not be able to give you more details because it is not in the public domain. But for sure.
One line.
Yeah, I want to add something. We are, as I said, it's basically we are working in the organic sector. So it is, as I said before, it is not only that we are working in a very, it's a very small scale, definitely, but we are trying to integrate. All right, it is not only about selling. We also conduct with an NGO, German-based NGO, WHH, Welthungar Hilfe. We are conducting agroecology course. So where again we are training. We are like this year we had 29 participants from 13 states of India, and the participants were mostly around 70% of the participants were young, and also women. It was more than 50% of the participants were women, and they came from diverse background, and with diverse purpose they joined the agroecology course. So again, slowly we are definitely trying to increase the number of people in the network with different backgrounds, and we are trying to bring them, and how we can collaborate with each other, how we can contribute as a whole. Also, as we said, that other than just selling of things or doing organic farming, we are into conservation. Now, a huge amount of effort and finance goes into the conservation. Like this year, FIAM conserved 624 varieties of indigenous rice. So if corporates can fund these activities can be done much easily. But I don't know whether there's any scope, whether the CSR initiatives of the corporates allow these things or not. So there are so many things that can be done in a collaborative way.
No,
Just one point is there. There is another platform, because it triggered from, there's NCNF platform, National Coalition for Natural Farming, right? So this is also a very good platform where scientists, practitioners, CSOs, and then even policymakers and some CSR donor agencies are also part of that group. And lot of cross-learning is happening and lot of interconnectedness is happening. So let's say if I'm starting something and I'm stuck up at some point, if I post a question, I can get at least 3-4 replies in that group. What are the ways to whom I can reach out? So such platforms are still, helping to get into action. But then yes, it's a long way to go, and there are a lot of things we can build upon. But there are some useful platforms. Sorry, sir.
Just a one-liner in that sense. The government is completely aware of it, and I don't know if you are aware of national education policy. Everyone sitting in this room have attained some certain age, right? And certain specialization, and carried that specialization into the job market, whichever the job market. And that stereotypic schooling that I belong to this subject, I belong to this domain, makes you very specialized and not talk to your friends. That is ingrained in you just after class 10. So the government has perceived it. That's why they introduced national education policy. I'm not advocate of that, but one of the main objective of this policy is that being a Bengali student you can also take a history paper or a mathematics paper. Soon you start doing that you will find these sort of professionals coming down in 10 years down the lane, because it's the first batch that will be coming out. They will be also a bit confused. But 10 years down the lane, they will be definitely talking, a Bengali and a mathematics friend would definitely be talking with an engineering friend. And these sort of difficulties of hiring or including people with extreme specialization, I guess would be smoothened, and we would perceive the things more holistically rather than saying, okay, I just know this is for the reason I'm labeled like that. So the government is proactive. Yes, we have to break out our silos to receive that sort of new age education system. Thank you.
Just one thing I can say in his thing in extension, that what we have seen that the changes that has been talking about this NEP, it's been done. But if you check the West Bengal government syllabus, which is already done in 2016, if I am not mistaken, it's changed. And if you check, it's wonderful integration of our daily works, multiple things is there. But what we found the gap is the implementation. It's huge gap in implementation for just the lack of the gap is where the teacher don't know how to teach it. They don't at all know. They have no clue how to teach those syllabus. They are just going with old-fashioned, old way of teaching. So the teaching to the parents, teaching to the teaching fraternity, that is exactly what we need at this point of time. Without it, we cannot change this scenario.
Maybe in the subcommittee 6, where we are the PRI, we are going for the children, women, and social inclusion, that sector, we can advocate for more such type of work at the panchayat level, because they have to now report 2030.
Yeah.
So SDG is on their head. So we can use that, to push these ideas at the PRI level where we are working on.
But I'm sorry to say I cannot speak in English properly, so I want to talk in Bengali. বলছি নেচার বিষয়ে একটু বলতে চাই যে যেগুলো আমাদের গ্রামের এরিয়া থেকে বেশিরভাগ খাদ্য সরবরাহ হয়, তো সেই জন্য বলতে চাই যে ফার্স্টলি নেচারটা কিন্তু খারাপ হচ্ছে মানে গ্রামের দিক থেকেই। গ্রামে অতিরিক্ত পরিমাণে রাসায়নিক খাদ্য মানে রাসায়নিক সার এবং বীজ ব্যবহার করার ফলে, তো এটা যেটা মেনলি হচ্ছে যে তাদের মধ্যে যে অর্গানিক ফার্মিংয়ের চিন্তাভাবনাটা খুব কম আছে, মানে যেটা বলবো যে 1%-এর মধ্যে এই চিন্তাভাবনা আছে, 99%-এর মধ্যে মানে এই শিক্ষাটা নেই যে কীভাবে অর্গানিক ফার্মিং করতে হয়। এবং সাথে সাথে যে গ্রামের যে বিষয়, গ্রামে ম্যাক্সিমাম ছেলেরা এখন মানে কী বলবো মোবাইলে ব্যস্ত এবং তারা জবে বেশি ব্যস্ত, কিন্তু গ্রামে যে আর্নিংটা আছে বিভিন্ন জিনিস ন্যাচারাল জিনিস থেকে যে আর্নিংগুলো হয় সেগুলো কিন্তু গ্রামে অনেক কিছুতে অনেক বেশি আছে, যে ন্যাচারাল সব কিছু জিনিস দিয়ে। তো আমাদের মনে হচ্ছে যে এটা কী হবে, গ্রাম্য সাইডে যদি বেশি অ্যাডভাইসমেন্ট করা যায় বা সরকার যদি এটাকে ফোকাস করে, তো তাহলে কিন্তু গ্রামের দিক থেকে গ্রামের ছেলেরা উন্নত হবে, এবং গ্রাম থেকে যে সমস্ত খাদ্য সরবরাহ শহরে হয় সেটাকেও আরও মনে হচ্ছে আরও ভালো করা যাবে, এবং নেচারটাকেও ভালো করা যাবে। সেদিক থেকে সরকারের দিক থেকে বা সংগঠনের দিক থেকে কী কী প্রসেস আছে সেটা যদি বলেন তাহলে।
সেটা বেশি দিনের নয়, কিন্তু সেটা হয়তো 17, 15, 16 বছর কি 17 বছর রাসায়নিক সার দিয়ে বেশি আমরা চাষ করছি। কিন্তু এই যে ইন্ডিজিনিয়াস যে প্র্যাকটিসেস ছিল আমাদের গোবর সার দিয়ে, সেটা তো আগে হতো, এখন হচ্ছে না। তার কারণ হচ্ছে কোথাও না কোথাও আমরা প্র্যাকটিসগুলো ভুলে যাচ্ছি, কোথাও না কোথাও আমরা আমাদেরকে ভুলে যাচ্ছি, আমাদের ইতিহাসটাকে ভুলে যাচ্ছি। আমরা ওই ডকুমেন্টেশনটা করছি না। বা এই যে আমরা এডুকেশন নিয়েও কাজ করি, যে আমরা এখন ট্রাইবাল এরিয়াতে কাজ করছি এডুকেশন নিয়ে। তো আমার একটা ট্রাইবাল বাচ্চা, ওদের কাছে নেই, ওয়াটার পিউরিফাই নেই। তো ওরা কী করে, ওরা একটা জলের বোতলে জামের যে ডাল কাঠ, সেটা ওটার মধ্যে রেখে দেয়, এবং ওটা বলে যে অনেক দিন থাকে। তারপর যখন আমি ওখানকার বয়স্ক একজনের কাছে গেলাম, সে তখন আমাকে অনেক কিছু বললো যে জামের থেকে আমরা আগে এভাবে করতাম, এবং উনি জানেন, এবং এটা কোথাও ডকুমেন্টেড নেই। তো আমরা কোথাও না কোথাও আমাদের ইতিহাসটা ভুলে যাচ্ছি। তো সেই কারণেই আর কি হচ্ছে। এবার অর্গানিক ফার্মিং আমি কি আমি ইন্টারেস্টের কথা বলছি না, আমি বলছি
একটু মাল্টি ডাইমেনশনালও বটে।
না,
মানে গ্রিন রেভলিউশন হওয়ার পর থেকে তো এত বেশি কেমিক্যাল ফার্টিলাইজার পেস্টিসাইডস ইউজ হচ্ছে, তার কারণ পপুলেশনটাও দেখুন 130 কোটি ছাড়িয়ে গেছি। অর্গ্যানিক ফার্মিং কি সেই 130 কোটিকে একটা রিজনেবল প্রাইসে খাবার দিতে পারবে? তার জন্য যেটা আপনি বলছিলেন যে সাপ্লাই চেন ম্যানেজমেন্ট এমন একটা জিনিস, সেখানে প্রত্যেকটা ক্ষেত্রে ওই জিনিসটা মাথায় রেখে তবে কাজটা করতে হবে। আদারওয়াইজ আপনাকে এতগুলো পপুলেশনকেও, এবং এখনো যেহেতু চারপাশে এত রাসায়নিক সারের প্রয়োগ, অর্গ্যানিক চাষ করা সহজ নয় যদি সার্টিফাইড অর্গ্যানিক হতে হয়।
হ্যাঁ, আমি এটাই বলছি।
এবার সেটার দাম বেশি।
হ্যাঁ,
কতজন অ্যাফোর্ড করতে পারবে, কতজনকে আমি তাদের প্রয়োজনীয় খাবারটা পৌঁছে দিতে পারবো? তার সাথে কিছু ওয়েস্টেড ইন্টারেস্ট, যেটা নিয়ে আমার মনে হয় আমরা অন্যদিকে চলে যাচ্ছি। তাই কারণ যারা পেস্টিসাইডস বিক্রি করে, যারা ফার্টিলাইজার বিক্রি করে, তারা সব বিজনেস টাইকুনস গ্লোবালি। তো তাদের ওয়েস্টেড ইন্টারেস্টের ব্যাপার রয়েছে এখানে, পলিটিক্স, গভর্নেন্স সব কিছু যুক্ত আছে। তো সেইভাবে বোধহয়, মানে আমি খুব একটা এক্সপার্ট নই এই বিষয়ে, কিন্তু আমার ইন্টারেস্ট আছে বলে আমি যেটুকু
আমি সেটা নিয়েই কথা বলছি। উনি বললেন যে গ্রামের দিকে কিভাবে এটা তো ছিলই না আমাদের কাছে,
এটা খুবই
রাসায়নিক সারটা আমাদের কাছে ছিলই না।
প্রোডিউসার্স কমে যাচ্ছে, কনজিউমার্স বেড়ে যাচ্ছে, তো আমরা কেউ জানি না কিভাবে প্রোডিউস করতে হয়, কিভাবে চাষ করতে হয়, কিভাবে ফসল ফলাতে, আমরা শুধু কনজিউম করতে জানি। এবং যার জন্যই বোধহয় সেটাকে একটু, মানে আপনি যেটা জিজ্ঞেস করলেন, আমি জানি না অন্য কেউ উত্তর দিতে চান কি না, সেটা না এক কথায় ওভাবে বলা মুশকিল যে গ্রামের দিকে ওটাকে কিভাবে করা যায়। কেন করছেন না চাষিরা, সেটারও একটা কারণ রয়েছে। তাহলে ওই রুট কজটাকে কোথাও গিয়ে অ্যাড্রেস করতে হবে, যেটা খুব এক ধরনের নয়, সেটা নানা ধরনের জিনিস তার মধ্যে যুক্ত হয়ে আছে। তো এটা ওই একইভাবে সামগ্রিকভাবে অনেকে মিলে এটাকে অ্যাড্রেস করতে হবে। যেমন রুথ যেটা করছেন, বা ডিআরসিএসির কথা বললো, ফিয়ামের কথা বললো, তারা ছোট ছোট করে আপনি যেটা বলছেন ওটাই করার চেষ্টা করছে। অর্গ্যানিক ফার্মিং, কিভাবে অর্গ্যানিক ফার্মিংকে আর একটু কম্পিটেবল প্রাইসে করা যায়, চাষিদেরও লাভ হলো, আবার শহরে সেরকম লোককে খুঁজে বের করা যার কাছে ওটাকে মার্কেটিং করা যাবে। তো চেষ্টা হচ্ছে ছোট ছোট করে, সেটাকে কি করে আরো এক্সপ্যান্ড করা যায় তার জন্য বোধহয় আরো অনেকটা কথাবার্তা, ভাবনা চিন্তা, পরিশ্রম সবই করতে হবে।
না, অর্গানিক ফার্মিং নিয়ে আমার আরেকটা কথা আছে, যে একটা 1 বিঘা জায়গায় অর্ধেকটায় রাসায়নিক সার দিয়ে চাষ হচ্ছে, আর একটায় গোবর সার দিয়ে, জৈব সার দিয়ে চাষ হচ্ছে, তাহলে কি ওটা অর্গানিক ফার্মিং হচ্ছে?
I want to add one more point. Based on whatever translation I understood from the language, because I don't understand Bengali language. But see, the whole discussion of organic farming has got stuck up with the market price mein premium kitna milega. And that complete movement got caught up with that, with that case only. The reason why again new language is coming is natural farming again. Let's say agroecology as a broader concept. The idea is first locally produce and locally consume. The very first idea is कि क्या हम उसको, and again we have to remember one thing, कि conventional agriculture is one practice which was conventionally done and there are good traditional knowledge into it. But then natural farming is talking about how you enrich those conventional practices and then build upon those areas. And another major issue which I generally find is green revolution में जो खराबी हो गया है, मैंने at that time it must be good, bad, I don't want to comment on that bit. But then there are a lot of states in India which are already less fertilizer consuming areas, so rain-fed areas, tribal areas. So we need not to work into the areas which are already highly infested with chemical pesticides to revert them into natural farming. But why not to focus on such areas which are already deprived? So कोई भी scheme अगर आप देखोगे तो rain-fed areas में, tribal areas में, these are the last reaching areas, right? Micro irrigation scheme, the flagship program of per drop more crop. Agriculture Ministry ka. It is reaching to irrigation areas. What about the rain-fed areas or the tribal areas where the resources not available? So when we talk of natural farming, the discussion majorly focus ki how you bring the good food first into the plate of farmer and then talk about market. And because we are forgetting that farmers themselves are consumers too. So that is something which I thought I will highlight here.
Good point.
Are there any more questions? We continue. Okay.
So thank you, Ms. D'Souza, for chairing this session, and thank you all distinguished speakers for your insightful deliberation. We
allow her a closing remark.
Okay.
Thank you to all our amazing panelists for your deep reflections and your amazing comments. And thank you all for your energy and engagement. I'll hand it to
We are honored to felicitate Mr. Anindit Roy Choudhury, Ms. Sushmita Guho, Ms. Ruth Chattopadhyay, Mr. Manish Ranjan, and Ms. Prachi Patil in recognition of their outstanding contribution and dedication to their respective sectors. Please join me in welcoming our panelists to receive this token of appreciation. We would request Ms. Ajanta De, Joint Director. Yes?
No. Nisha, let's go home.
Let's start with the chair.
Yes, yes.
Yes, beautiful. I'll
ওই ছবিটা হয়নি, এটা ধরাটা হয়নি।
We would now request the chair and the esteemed panelists and our team to kindly join us for the group photo.
Great photographs together for many years.
Let's join at the plenary session. All of you, please.
With this, we conclude the breakout session, mainstreaming women and youth in climate action. Now, a key takeaway session will be held at Royal Pavilion 2 with the chairs of the respective sessions. We'll present the key outcomes and insights of the discussion. We request all the guests and dignitaries to please join the session at Royal Pavilion 2 Hall.